Okay, my friends, we're just prepping our podcast station for Instagram. We'll be live in just a minute everywhere we want to be. Hang tight. Okay. Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to the Staffless Practice Podcast.
I'm so excited to be here. So thank you.
You're welcome. Tell us, who are you? Where are you? What are you all about?
So I am Dr. Kristina Kill, formerly known as Stitcher. So I am in Utah, and I went to Parker as my undergrad for chiropractic school. I grew up in Maine. I think that's a really important thing to say. So I'm like a good New England girl, love what I do, came out here because of who I was married to at the time and started to practice. I'm now 22 years in practice here. I took a short little reprieve and went back and taught as faculty for a year, full-time faculty at Parker in 2015. Loved it, but missed practice. I missed being with patients. And that was something that I realized, that corporate America versus being in practice, there's a huge difference of where we are. And so I am a family wellness chiropractor. Absolutely love seeing families, kids, pregnancy. I do a lot of corrective care, subluxation based. So I'm very much like, let's get to root cause and let's just love on our patients and really gain a wellness practice by taking care of people.
Okay, so I could unpack like 50 things again.
Yeah.
I want to hear more about the Maine to Utah thing, but I digress. Let's go to the subluxation. Can you define for people who don't know what a subluxation is, chiropractors included, believe it or not,
Right.
What does that mean that you're subluxation based?
So the thing that, and I'm going to run it through real fast, that I say to every single patient is, first off, that your body's designed it's created to heal and repair itself. I think that's so important to remind people, because we know this, like we're in the holistic space, but we got to understand that most of our patients, that's the first time they've heard this, is to really understand and grasp that your body's, it's intelligent, it's smart, it knows how to heal and repair itself. But in order to do that, it has to follow a very precise program. And that program is run by the nervous system, so brain, spine, and all the nerves that control everything in our body. And as long as that's working and communicating like it should, you'd have amazing health. Your body heals, it repairs, your babies develop and grow, your kids are happy and healthy and thrive. That's normal. That's healthy. That's what we want to see. That's what we're working towards. That's the goal. But if there's a miscommunication in that system from brain to body, body to brain, that's the subluxation. It's an interference in how that body is communicating. Our job as chiropractors is to remove that interference, thus allowing your body to heal, repair, develop, grow, work like it's designed and programmed to do. Not because we're doing anything to the body, but we're actually taking away interference to allow the body to do what it's designed to do.
I love that. And well said. Let me ask you, if you had one thing to say to female chiropractors who are just starting out, what would it be? Just one thing.
One thing.
No problem, right?
You have to set up your practice as a reflection, acknowledge as a reflection of your life, and that there's seasons in our life. And the best thing I had heard, so it stays with it, I'm hoping it's all one thing, is that success is different at different seasons. We get to define success. Stop having other people define it. Stop giving our power to other people.
Yeah.
We define success. And I've raised babies in practice. I now have adults and young and teenagers. It's like my season, I'm now a divorcee and about to get married again. It's like my season's way different than it was before. And actually my practice was going through a massive transformation as part of that season. And there was embarrassment behind changing what was successful to what now is successful. And we just got to get rid of that like preconceived notion of what we should do and what we should be, and define it by what is best for us. And that's how we don't burn out. That's how we love what we do. And that's how we stay in this day in, day out, because it's serving us.
So, my husband is of very sane mind. He's an engineer and he's very methodical and systematized. And he's watched the staffless practice explosion of what we're doing here. And he says to me all the time, I love how flexible you are with the next piece. Like practice has always been, it's just what I do. I'm a chiropractor, and it has absolutely ebbed and flowed in the different seasons. I remember when I was getting married and my whole thing was about the wedding and getting married and the plans. And my practice members were so flexible with me on that phase of my life. And here we are 25 years later, right? And now I'm in this season, and you're so right. It's like my practice is so different today than it was 25, even 6 years ago. The people who stayed close to me during the pandemic, I'll never forget that time with them, because they knew that my doors were open. They knew that no matter what, I was going to be there. I wasn't going to get feared out of being in practice. And it was one of the seasons. I love the way that you put that. So is that what Practice Evolution is all about?
So Practice Evolution was actually started by Ogi Russell. I hired him as my mentor and coach. He had the largest pediatric practice in North America, and he started coaching and teaching, and he taught in a corrective care subluxation model, which I love this mindset. And these are my words, is you can't have a wellness practice unless people are well. I think that's really important. A lot of chiropractors, like, we put people on wellness schedules because it sounds fun, but our patients, like, they're not doing well, and we're struggling with what do we do? And so it's very much what has been tough to communicate with other doctors is, what is the schedule people need? So it's super clinical, super focused in on exams, really dialed in exams, understanding schedules of care that really get people well, what to expect, how to follow up. And it's really about becoming the best doctor you can possibly be, the best doctor in your community. So that instead of you becoming and trying to attract the right people, you are extremely attractable to the right people. But it's also one, like, the buck stops with me, that I'm very transparent, clearly. I'm also very one that is like, I'll just shoot straight. If you want to get better, here's what it's going to take. Right. And here's what I recommend. But I've also learned, and this is the transformation that I love, I felt in it used to be that it was like a black and white, take it or leave it. And I think a lot of patients had to choose between holistic and medicine. And it was like, we're creating this cut between the two. And I don't think we meant to, but I think that's what we've done. And so I'm really, again, this season is we're going, we need to just have a conversation. As your doctor, I'm always going to recommend the care that you need and deserve. And I'm going to help doctors get to that point so they really have confidence in their skills. But what about that? And how can you do that and be in that medical world if that's something you choose to be? How can you do that and have a life? Like, how is it I can be your doctor, serve you, and give you the recommendations that you need and deserve, and not have you feel like you have to take it or leave it? And there's only one way to do this.
So how do new doctors identify what that looks like for their practice?
So most doctors who are wanting to coach with me feel the need to improve, first off, the clinical side of their practice. That they look at their practice and they go, I love being a doctor, but to be honest, from school to clinic, or from where I've been, I've created a pain-based practice, and I really want to shift to more either family wellness or corrective care. And so they need that help to do that. And that's where I just shine, because that's one thing I just love to do. The flip side of what it grows into is that I become that mentor and that coach for life in practice, because now that you're successful, what do we do with the next step? And that's the evolution part of, where do we get to associates if that's what you want? Where do we step back into CEO mode if that's what you want? All these, how can you start to really brand and scale with other clinics? Like, we can do all that. But the biggest thing that I'll say is, what do you want? And I'm never a coach that says, okay, I'm going to get you 200 a week, because that's what you should be doing. My answer is, let's get you so you're efficient, effective, serving the people who you want to serve, because it really matters that every person you see, you want to see. But I want you to be efficient so you can really maximize your time and energy with your patients, so that you can also have that step back and have that life, that you're living an amazing life right now.
Do you have a coach?
Do I have a coach?
Yeah. Do you get coached?
So my mentors are Ogi Russell, Steve Hoffman. I've worked a lot with Tim Young. It's like, yes, it's one that we stay dialed in. Like, we have to stay dialed in this profession, and not just in this profession. We have to stay dialed in the business world. I just went through the Goldman Sachs small business program.
Good for you.
Informational. So we look at these things of saying, I want to do the best I can and have this exploration mindset, and then share that with other doctors.
What would you say your biggest aha out of the Goldman Sachs training was?
My biggest aha was I had to shift from my associate model. And I actually
that's interesting. And what?
shockingly interesting, I went back into practice. I actually reset structures with my doctors. I gave them the option out. They chose option out, which is what I was assuming. And I was so afraid of that conversation that I had actually protected them, but not the practice or not my family. And so I went back into practice, and right now it's me. Like, I'm the doctor. I've still got my team. I'll tell you, it's been heart healing to be back into practice and serve patients. It has simplified my life. It has given me stability. It's a season I never thought I would be back in, but I'm embracing it in this wild, crazy, what is my next season? Acknowledging this may be a transformation, or this may just be what it is of going simplify. Because in this stage of my life, having a lot and trying to really run so much actually was adding more chaos and stress. And I've got some really tender things that's happening in my family that I need to be there. And so when I'm here, but I actually pulled back the layers of complication and chaos in my practice.
Well, I congratulate you on identifying the need to pivot. And I think you're so well spoken. I think it's a New England thing. Like, some of the things that you say, I've heard them said, like referring to a section of time as a season, and the word tender and caretaking, and really beautiful, and really resonates so deeply with me. It's funny. I've always had a coach. I've probably spent upwards of $100,000 over the past 10 years in coaching. And I don't coach. I don't want to be a coach. It's not what I do. I do more consulting with specific things, right? But I texted Roberto Monaco as one of my coaches, and I'll have a lot going on in my world, and I'll text him at 6:00 on a Monday morning saying, dude, I need a jam session. So I just want to accentuate and highlight how important it is, especially if you're new, especially if you're miserable in practice, that you have people who have what you want. I don't know if you know this about me, Kristina, but 33 years, almost 34 years ago, I got sober. My whole adult life has been one of sobriety. And I learned when I was 19, find the people who have what you want and do what they do. Don't necessarily do what they say, do what they do, because their actions brought them to what they have and what their life is about. So watch them and learn from them. I want to pivot a little bit, and I want to hear what you would say to people in practice. And remember, this is all trades of practice. If they're just feeling stuck and they're feeling like they don't know, today is Monday. We're on June 15th. Today, what can they do to change the trajectory of whatever is heavy on their heart in practice?
I think it's really important to acknowledge that often, as in my opinion, and I've worked with enough people and other providers as well, it's normally one or two things that really are the things that we're afraid of, that we just really want to change. And it could be a person we've hired. It could be it could be as simple as just our hours. It's like, there's something that really is like, if I could have the perfect world, and I always do this with my doctors, if I could have the perfect world, or if everything goes to heck, what does that look like? What does that mean? And there's two reasons I'll do that. The perfect world is now we actually say we step out of these bias and boundaries that we put ourselves in, or these limitations that we didn't realize we could change things. And so if I could have the perfect world, what would that look like? Now that's defining success. So then we can actually step back and scale that or implement it. The other part is, well, what if everything goes to pot? What does that mean? And I go, okay, let's go down that road, because so many people are so afraid of that happening that if I actually just spend 5 minutes and explore, what does that really mean?
Right.
We realize coming out on the other end, yeah, it's a little ugly for our credit and things like that, but ultimately it's really not going to ruin us. And if we're doing something that should end up in jail, well, I'm sorry, we got to do our time. We got to do things right. I've worked a lot on the licensing board. I always believe if you're doing things at the highest level you can, the worst isn't the worst that we've imagined, this catastrophic mindset that we have. So to me, if I could say one thing today, June 15th, first off, acknowledge the miracles that you're part of, right? So
how do you do that? How do you acknowledge the miracles that you're part of? What does that look like?
Well, and let's go to birth. I remember my first birthday I was at, and I remember the nurses treating it so common. And I
Right.
remember thinking at that point, I will never, ever consider birth like this. I always want to admire the miracle of birth. And I see a lot of pregnancy, and I've done a lot of birth work, and I still am in awe of what the body can do. I'm still in awe when a patient comes into me. So now we flip it to practice, and I'm in awe because I make myself, because I went through a season where I diminished the miracles that were happening in my practice. I diminished what was happening right in my practice because it was like, well, that's great. But I wasn't listening to it. I wasn't acknowledging it. So that's my advice, is you got to acknowledge what's happening right now. So when a patient shares with you something that's a big deal in their life, that is a miracle. It has changed their life and who they are and how they show up for their kids and how they show up for their partner. And for some reason we go, that's great. And we move on to the next one. And then we fixate on what's not going well.
Right. Right.
So that's
it's like, if that's what you're focused on, that's what I have. I'm a Sherman grad, and what I've learned is that every symptom is perfect, right? Like, it's a signal, and your body's going to talk to you until the day that you no longer have life moving through it. So I've gotten into the habit over probably the past 10 years more than anything, when somebody tells me what hurts, I don't make them wrong for it. I tell them that must really suck. And then I ask them to make sense of it. Like, how does that make sense for what's happening in your life right now? And then I ask them to tell me 3 things they're grateful for. Because as soon as we pivot, we change the channel. I learned that from Janine Roth. We change the channel of what our mind is focused on, our experience changes. If for some reason people come to me thinking they have to tell me that something's wrong, the kids I serve don't come to me telling me that. Some of them do, though. Some of them are like, Dr. Jody, I have a boo-boo on my knee. And I'll say, that's awesome. Isn't your body so smart? Tell me 3 things you're excited about. So if we can give our practice members, first listen to them, don't shut them up, because I was taught that too. I've had coaches that say, you don't listen to symptoms.
Right.
Symptoms are wrong, like bad symptom. No. People have a story to tell. Figure out a way to efficiently and effectively give them the space to tell their story. And then, okay, great. Let's get you adjusted so that your body is functioning at 100%. How do you, and I want to word this kindly, how do you stay patient with new doctors that you coach who don't quite, they're not quite in a place of trust yet. They're not quite in a place where they know that, we know because we've been doing this for so long. So how do you stay resilient with that, with the mentorship?
The first advice that I give with that is, I wish that people could see their potential. And so that's our job. That's my job, is to help them see their potential, to help them see how amazing they are right now, to help them see that people are looking for them right now, that they're the provider right now that people are wanting, not someone else, not someone down the street, not the cheap person down the street, not the one that's Googling ad, all that. It's like them, right? Who they are, right? How they're showing up. People are looking for them, praying for them, seeking them out. Like, all these things really matter. That's important to understand. Then the flip side is, wouldn't it be fun that as we get older as doctors, we get a little bit more grumpy, is what we say, because we just cut through the chase. We no longer beat around the bush. We're just like, here's what it is. Here's what you need to be doing. And here's what I advise. I don't want to say need to be doing, but here's what I advise, because you came to me to be your doctor. So I look at my job as to help people understand your job is to be their doctor first and foremost. Give them the advice that they deserve to hear. Not what you think they want to hear, not what they can afford, but what do they deserve to hear to make the best decision for their life and their health and their family. I will flip it and say, I'm a really good patient. When a doctor says to me what they recommend, I follow. I'm very, very good at that, because I know that I'm seeking out people who have more understanding and appreciation and can guide me. So as a result, I acknowledge my responsibility as a doctor to also be that guide for the people who are looking for what I do. And instead of me thinking, again, back to that, it's my way or the highway, I do believe there has to be a line in the sand. Here's what I recommend, and I'm not going to compromise my care or my recommendations, but I'm also going to make sure that there's understanding of what you're expecting. Because
how do you do that? How do you How do you create that?
So I always give corrective care recommendations because that's that's what I also set up in my initial consultation. I'm talking with my patients of I get to root cause. I'm looking at nervous system, interference in the nervous system, and I'm going to recommend the care it's going to take to not only feel better, but to fix underlying issues and restore function and health. That's what I'm assuming that you want. Is that correct? Because if a patient says, I only want to see you once or twice, I'm not the right practice for them. And this is so powerful. I let them go.
Right. You refer them to the guy down the street that does that.
That's happy to do that. And hopefully is loving what they're doing. For me, instead, I qualify my patients just like I know they're qualifying me.
Right.
And so
I love what you're saying.
And when we do this, we're all more successful. But that's the young doctor part is like, I need to see everyone. My answer is actually, no, you don't. You don't want to because you can't help everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So let's focus on the ones that we can help who are seeking us out and want what we do. And they are going to refer like patients to us and practice members to us because that's how the energy works. That's how the universe works. But you surround yourself. And one of the most important like nuggets that people have told me is that the advice I give is you are finite with how many people you can see in a day, in a week, in a month, in a year, in your lifetime. You cannot see unlimited patients. And so if you acknowledge there's a finite number of how many people you can see in a day, you'd be more cognizant of who you fill your day with.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
I think these are all really, I'm thinking about Selena Sigafus just jumped in my head, and her practice, Karen Kevin see like 500 people a week. And I think about them in context of what we're talking about, and they're magnets. Their magnetism is what pulls people. They embody what they do. That people want to be. Peter and Patty have the same type of practice. Mm-hmm. People just want to be around them. So even if Peter and Patty said, "Oh, see me once a year," those people are still going to come in like every week, every 2 weeks, because they want to be around happy, thriving, healthy people. So I think that also goes to say how important it is that we live a life that is filled with abundance and things that we love too. So I want to hear about your twins. I want to hear about what it was like raising twins in practice, and just tell me about it.
So they're not twins. That's what's so funny is I say I've got two 20-year-olds. We adopted David when he was 8 years old. And so they're 2 weeks apart. And so I hit I'll say I hit the twin moment when he was 8. Radical transformation to the family. We fostered to adoption for him.
Wow.
And, that was a hard one. The one that I will say to him is that if you ever felt that you weren't loved, I said, the other kids I conceived, I was pregnant and I birthed them, and oh my goodness, like they're part of me and I love them and I love them. I love my kids. I'm such a fierce mom. I said, David, I fought for you. We went to court for a year. We had to become foster parents in 2 different states. Like, seriously, kid, if you ever question your worth and value, we fought for you. Your labor was much longer than the other labors.
That's beautiful.
I think it's really one that I'll say it's, if I could give myself advice, and this is young doctors, I was coached by most of us at this age by male mentors, and I love them, appreciate them. But what we now have this opportunity for, and I truly love what they taught, but what we didn't have was this gap of how can I be a mom and a business owner and a doctor. And that's where I love what I do, because I would do it different. Because I was in practice full time. Like I was always in practice full time. And I took I never even took 6 weeks off after having my babies. It's like, I look at that and it's just, I was primary breadwinner for the family. There were circumstances within that was an unfair conversation, or it was an agreement. That's something that I now have. I have those hard conversations with doctors of like, what do you want? Right. And what is this going to look like? And so a lot of the doctors I'm attracting, I have a lot of men I attract, which I love working with men. I so much fun. And then I have these moms that are coming in going, I want to navigate being a mom. And I'm like, great. We're going to talk seasons like crazy, because this isn't a growth season. It's a growth for a baby season, but it's not a growth for your practice. And so we have to acknowledge this this very beautiful balance that we're sometimes really afraid to have. And one thing I also want to say is like, I think sometimes, and I have felt this as well, is when practice is tough or life is tough, and I've gone through some really hard seasons as well, it's sometimes hard to be around other providers that are like, everything's amazing and wonderful, because we just want reality. Right. And so sometimes it's really beautiful. It's often very beautiful to have a coach you can just be very real with. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes it's like, we just got like, everything's grand. And the answer is, it's not grand. But I need someone who I can be very real with, so I can show up at my best self for the people who need it, deserve it. And they don't need to know. Like I can say I'm a very transparent person, but not everyone needs to know all my garbage, because it's not going to serve them. But there's times that I've sat down with a patient. There's times I've sat down with my doctors and I'm like, okay, let's talk crisis. Let's talk what this looks like. And for the, I guess for the beauty and the blessing is I know crisis, and I know these things because I've been through them at times, so I can help, but it's when appropriate. It's as appropriate. So we need to find our team. And I loved what you said about spending money on coaches. It's like, I agree with you. Like, like easy, like happily spend tens of thousands of dollars on coaches, because what it has given us the ability to do is to be real, to be authentic, and to lead at a different level and space and place. But what it really does is it gives us this group of people who can be real with, also cut through the BS for us. And that was what I needed with Goldman Sachs, was to sit in a room of like-minded people who could also look at my numbers and look at my circumstance and look at where I was, because I had gone through this divorce, and what had happened for me is I became, and so I'm happy to share this, I became people pleasing. I didn't realize what I was doing. I can now, therapy would totally help me with that one too. I'm like, but what it was is I wasn't as good of a leader as I could have been, because it's like, whatever people want, I'm afraid of going to the next level. Instead of just sitting back down and looking not just at the numbers, but being that business owner and saying what is best for the practice. And being a business owner means you got to have tough conversations at times. And that's sometimes, some people don't want that. And I think that's also important to say. That doesn't make it wrong. So it just means how your practice is going to look is different than someone else's practice. And that's actually a beautiful thing, because we're not meant to all have the same practice. And
and numbers don't lie, guys. Like, I think the numbers conversation is really important. It's definitely not my strong suit, looking at numbers on a regular basis, but I think it's really important, and it's terribly uncomfortable for me to do, but I still do it. And I think that's part of the lesson too, is like, do the uncomfortable thing, because that's usually, if you lean into the uncomfortable thing, that's usually where your answers are. So not always though. Sometimes it's graceful and easy, but most of the time, like if there's something like I can't do that. Oh, I'm not going to be able to, that's usually where there's a lot of gold. So any last minute thoughts or anything that you want everybody to know about you or your philosophy or what you're doing?
So as you said that, I have one thought. We have to learn to have more grace for ourselves. We're really good as doctors giving a lot of grace for others. And I think one of the best things we can learn is give grace for ourselves and acknowledge who we are because of the mistakes we've made, who we are because of the experiences we've been through, who we are because of exactly where we are in life. And that's really a beautiful thing. As I look at this as well, if I could go back and do this again, I'd do it again. I absolutely love being a holistic provider. I love being a chiropractor, but within this holistic space, I work with other holistic providers because I don't want to do it alone. I don't want to be an island amongst myself. And the other advice I have is I've gone into big leadership opportunities within the association in my state and going and serving and speaking all over. I think it's really one that if you can help mentor another doctor, even if you go, I don't have anything to give, it shows you how much you have to give. And when we can get out of our own head and space and mess, sometimes it helps us acknowledge the miracles again that we're part of, because man, this is a wonderful thing to be part of. And I love it and I honor it and I respect it. And where I say there's a lot of opportunity that we still have. I look at all the graduating doctors in every holistic field and profession, and even the medical profession. And I look at going, what a great opportunity, you guys. People are wanting to claim health and life and function. There's so many opportunities to help build people up and communities up. And that's where we really can shine, and we do shine. So let's really take care of our communities. But we got to remember, it's got to be, and I hate to say it, like, I don't know why I'm afraid to say it, but the practice does need to serve us. If we're not having a safe space in that practice and a safety in our practice, then it's only going to drain. So what is it that's serving us? And for me, I really love being with patients. I used to be afraid of new patients and all that because I was afraid about me and how they'd perceive me. And I got out of my own head and I realized it's not about me. It's about what I do and what I give. And if I don't trust what I recommend, it's like, then I got to trust what chiropractic can be and trust the science and the physiology behind it. And I trust my other leaders and mentors. You look at Heidi Havoc, like you and I could do this all day. It's like list all these people, but we got to stay in it.
We're very blessed to have such amazing mentors within chiropractic. So you guys, we are out of time, but if you're watching this and you want to get in touch with Kristina, practiceevolution.com. You can just look at the bottom of the screen at scrolling. Kristina, thank you for being on the podcast. I'm super excited to share this with doctors from all over the world. And hang tight. If you guys are watching the replay of this, go make the world better with great care. And thanks for listening. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.